Hello, and welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings and get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of these stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village. And if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Guilbault Girls. Today we have Teresa and Nick with you, and Faith. And we actually met Nick and Teresa through one of the Facebook groups for people with cerebral palsy. So we wanted to have them on the show and ask them some questions and let them talk about a new cooking show that they're also going to be launching as well. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. And so we want to know how you guys met, because in your bio that you had sent, we were really excited about how you guys met and what your journey was. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that, we would love to hear.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, we met back in March of 2018 on a Saturday morning at a Cerebral Palsy Support Group.
Yeah, part of Warm Springs here in San Antonio, Texas. They had a Cerebral Palsy Support Group, and my friend had been after me for literally years to go to the support group, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. It's going to be a bunch of people singing Kumbaya and like be all fine with their disability, and I thought it was going to be cheesy and dumb, so I didn't want to go. But I finally went, and little did I know I was going to meet him.
And she's like, I was telling her what I did was at the time I was working and running 5 radio stations on the internet. We do Christian music, where I do Christian rock, hip hop, and worship 24/7. And the next night there was a TobyMac concert in town, and she's like, are you going to the concert? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of work the concerts. I actually shoot concert photography as a hobby.
Oh, get out. That's awesome.
And I mean, a typical concert for me, I'll shoot 3,000 still shots and I'll video 40 to 50 videos, but that's every song from front to back of the concert.
And then he shares them with the artists or
other radio stations
or other people in the crowd that want pictures.
Yeah, I've got over 30,000 still shots from the last 3 years, and since we've met, we've done 41 concerts together.
We love it.
Most of the time, we work the concerts, which means
we volunteer.
We do food for the hungry, man the booth, or we do merchandise. I like doing merchandise because once in a while they'll give us a free T-shirt, and who doesn't like a free T-shirt?
You know,
exactly.
The next 3 months are just absolutely insane. In March, we have 5 concerts, 3 concerts in 1 week.
Yeah.
And that's traveling between San Antonio and Austin. We live in San Antonio.
Okay.
I think our Christian artists missed, they missed
touring so much. They're just piling it on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know.
But yeah, we met. He was at the TobyMac concert, and he came and found me at the TobyMac concert, and we chatted. And then he invited me to his Bible study and dinner at his church.
Oh, but before that, I realized you had a really crappy hospital chair.
Oh yeah.
And I took one of my old ultralight wheelchairs and put it back together and gave it to her.
I thought that was awesome. I was reading that in your bio. I'm like, how cool is that?
Yeah. I was like, forget the flowers. They die. I don't care about that.
That's what I tell everybody. He wasn't a flowers and chocolate guy. He literally built me a wheelchair that made it easier for me to get around. And my mom was teasing because while he was building the wheelchair, he had to get my measurements. And my mom kept saying, I think he likes you. And I said, no, he's just being nice. He's just a friend. He doesn't like me. She goes, well, any guy that's going to go to that much trouble and try to get your measurements only 2 weeks after meeting you likes you. And I was like, oh.
That's great. Yeah. That's great.
And then when we went to the Bible study, he, nothing real romantic happened. He just kind of held my hand at the end of the Bible study.
But the Bible study was on relationships.
Yeah, that was well planned.
Yeah, how did I plan that
That
one?
was well planned.
Yeah, did you plan that?
No.
And when I came home from that, my mom said, "So was that just a friends thing, or was that a date?" And I was like, I don't know. I think it was a date. I guess if it looks like a date and it sounds like a date, maybe it was a date. I don't know. But I held out for a little bit longer before I would agree to date him, because I had dated other guys that were disabled as well, and those relationships weren't successful. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do this again.
She for 4 months was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, if this is gonna work. In June, we traveled to Houston together because there was a concert for a group by the name of Third Day.
Which is my favorite
ever
Christian
heard
concert.
about them?
Favorite Christian artist is Third Day.
I'm so bad with names. If I hear the song, then I know it.
Yeah. Well, Third Day basically was retiring after 25 years, and this was a farewell tour.
It was the last chance to see them
and
in
she
concert.
was so mad she missed out on getting tickets. Well, luck of the draw was I had one of the record companies email us looking for 40 volunteers. And I was like, okay, I'm on it. And I was like, okay, we're going to Houston. I didn't tell her what it was about. And halfway there, she goes, oh, the Third Day farewell tour's in Houston today.
And that's,
and I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
what advice would you guys have for other people out there that have disabilities, that they want to have what you guys have, and
don't push the dating thing on yourself using websites, because a lot of stuff out there's too many people fishing. I found her by accident, and honestly,
it was actually by God. I believe
it.
It's
nothing's by accident.
When I was single, I hated when people would say stuff like that, like, oh, it's just gonna happen just one day, when it's meant to happen and in God's timing. And in many ways, Nick and I wish we had met 20 years ago, because my life would have been a lot easier.
And I laughed because I've been past her house probably 5 or 6 times in the last 2 years as an Uber driver and didn't know.
So
get out.
No. Yeah.
So
Rad.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is just too cool.
Yeah, but I guess my advice is don't push it and let it happen naturally.
Yeah.
And as you get older, when I was in my 20s, when I was your age, I was desperate to find somebody and want to be like everybody else. But I realized that you can find the wrong people if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And so so I kind of think that my disability in a way protected me from finding the wrong people, because I was a pretty 18, 20-year-old, just like you are. And I think a lot of guys would have come for me that maybe weren't so good had I not had the walker or the wheelchair. So in some ways, I think it protected me. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does, because I even see like a lot of her friends doing stuff and going out. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, I feel bad because she's not getting to experience some of this stuff. But then I look at some of the stuff that goes on, and I'm
some
like,
of those guys like,
but even not even just with guys, with everything.
Yeah.
It's like, in a way, I'm kind of glad, because otherwise she would be out in this crazy world that it is today, And
I went through a different way of things, because I was married for 13 years. And after my first accident, my wife left me because she couldn't handle my health issues.
And
on top of the disability.
I had met 2 people, and they were like, oh, nope, sorry. And I finally said, you know what? I'm going to go this other route. I'm going to try to meet somebody who might be disabled and see if they really would click. And really where it was she understood the garbage I go through. And the
we help each other put on our braces, you know,
do our braces, get ready in the morning. I mean, and I won't say that it's easy,
it's
because
not easy.
cooking, I've had hand spasms and blown up flour in her face.
It was funny. We turned it into a joke.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, this girl can be covered in flour by the time I'm done cooking.
And then I'm really good at dropping pills. So, you know, he hands me pills because otherwise
I hand
will
feed
drop
her
them.
pills because it doesn't end up in her mouth. It
Ends up on the floor. You know, and I've dated able-bodied guys as well, as disabled guys. And there was nothing wrong with the disabled guys I've met. They were great, but I think part of it was I didn't want to be a burden on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel that way with Nick.
No.
And I think it's because he's got a disability as well, and we take care of each other. So I'm not saying you have to meet a disabled person to find love, because I did find love with able-bodied guys, short-term love with able-bodied guys. But there is something to be said with meeting someone that's disabled like you, just because then you don't feel like a burden. You feel like you're taking care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But she latched on to me because I had the transportation.
Yes.
I had a childhood friend that I was friends with forever, and he was a boy, but we didn't date. So
no,
that's my story.
Yeah, no, I have a wheelchair accessible van, and when she found out I had that, she's like, okay, I'm in love with you now.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Wow.
the wheelchair van gave us so much independence, you know.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have people that come in and help you? Do you have aides that come in?
We do. It's not, let's put it this way, not
totally
reliable.
Yeah. See, and that's what I'm finding with so many people that I talk to.
Yeah.
And the problem with Texas is Texas only pays between $8 and $8.75 an hour if you hire an agency.
That's through, because we get provider services through our insurance.
Through the Medicaid system.
Right.
And if you hire them and the agency provides them, they only give them about $8 to $8.75. If you hire them yourself as a self-employed person
and pay them privately,
you
can pay them up to $15.
The state will pay you their contract, but you can pay them up to $12.75.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because here it's so much more. Like they get
Where
so much more.
at?
Even we're in Maryland. So even with self-direct, you have, I think when I was reading it, it caps out at like $29. But most of them are paying around like 18. Some are paying 20. But then it also cuts into your budget as well. And when they go through agencies, we all just got raises. I work for the ARC, an ARC chapter. And
my dad worked on the board of ARC.
Oh, get out. That's awesome. Best agencies. And so I know they were able to, they have different programs set up so that way they can achieve more money, and also training. And I want to say they can make up close to $18 now if they go through that DSP, the direct support program that they have. Otherwise, I think they start off at about 14 something, or maybe even higher now, because they've been pushing the wages up with everything. But I know with one of the Medicaid ones, I think one of the agencies is only still paying like $13, and that's hard because you're working with real life people, like you're taking them in your hands.
A lot of these caregivers can go to a nursing home and get a job paying that $20. So you got to compete with them. And you can't.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing we have a good caregiver, and she is trained as a CNA, which is a bonus as a nurse.
So her respite provider is a CNA also.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a blessing because we have her, but she's not always the most reliable. So she'll maybe come when she's supposed to come every day. She'll maybe come twice a week, and she travels a lot. And then finding a second one to offset her is difficult as well.
We don't have anybody right now. We've got to find somebody. It's like, really?
And then with the pandemic, that puts a whole nother wrench in things. We
Yep.
did. So we did an interview yesterday with a couple, and they both have CP. They live in Pennsylvania, and she's 2022 wheelchair ambassador of Pennsylvania, and that's her platform. Is actually trying to advocate for more money for these caregivers because they don't have caregivers because one, because of the pandemic, two, because of the pay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so they're hard to come by, and you all want to be independent.
Right.
You know, so it's just, it's a hard
we
topic.
need the help, but it's nothing wrong with that because we need the help to be independent.
Correct.
Exactly. And like my parents always say, well, that they worry about what will happen to me, you know, when I lose Nick, and because Nick's more mobile than I am. So Nick would probably be fine and
I can be short distance with a walker and leg braces.
Because he can move around a little better than I can.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so my parents always pose that question, what's gonna happen, you know, if one of you is sick or whatever. If he's ever in the hospital, I'll just go and stay in the hospital with him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you think about those things, and then I think, well, if I ever lose Nick, I'll go live with my sister or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because I know that I can't physically live on my own.
Right.
So,
and that's her too. And I was so excited when we were talking about the cooking show. Her OT comes in once a week.
I love cooking.
And she has a hard time. She has a hard time with her fine motor. So
I bake like 3 times a week. She calls me Crazy Baker.
Yes, the Crazy Baker. She loves to bake. And they taught like an awesome way how to crack an egg and like not get the shells all over. And but she has a hard time. So next week, when she comes in, they're going to work on just doing a simple peanut butter sandwich. So, you know, if she's hungry and doesn't want to wait for us, she can learn to do that on her own. But she's always going to need somebody to help with cooking and, you know, and hygiene and getting dressed and that kind of stuff too. So
when I was younger and I was a little more mobile because I was in a walker full time when I was younger, I was the queen of the microwave, where my mom would just leave microwave meals, Hot Pockets, and I would just put in something in the microwave, and that was that as much cooking as I could do. But I did do a little bit of rehabbing after high school, and they gave me pieces of equipment. Like I have a special cutting board that has nails that go through it. And what you do is you put meat or you put potatoes on the nails, and it holds it still so that you don't have to wrestle with holding the potato. And then you take a rocking knife. I wish we had the rocking knife I could show you. And then I just use a rocking knife.
Rocking knives at school.
Yeah, it's the one. It's
got a T handle on it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the only way I can cut up my food on my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she goes to the Maryland School for the Blind.
Okay.
And they do a lot of functional living skills, and they had a month-long camp that they went to, and she did a lot of cooking there, and she loved it. So when you guys get up and running, she's definitely going to rewatch it.
If you ever get down towards the San Antonio way, you need to check out Morgan's Wonderland.
Yes.
It's a theme park.
Yes.
It's and
they have now opened a camp for the disabled.
Yes,
did they really?
Yes.
I did not know that. I knew about Morgan's, but I didn't know about that. Interesting.
Yeah, look up Morgan's and you'll probably
I haven't been to the camp yet, but I'm excited. But honestly, because we live in Texas and it's very hot during the summer, my favorite part of Morgan's Wonderland is their water park.
The water park.
It is awesome.
That's so cool.
And we're hoping to get married at Morgan's Wonderland. So we'll see. We're working on it right now.
Yeah. Do you guys have a date set up, or like a month, or when you're
June 4th?
June 4th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The trick is right now with Social Security, you can't get married. And
yes, that's another fight.
We're calling it a blessing. It's not really a marriage, but it's a blessing. And we both feel like we want to have it because, well, let's just say we bonded over Christian music. So we're very Christian.
Yeah.
So we want,
to say the least.
we want to make sure to have a ceremony and have God bless it. you know?
Absolutely. And it's a shame. And again, it's another thing that gets me. It's a shame because if you marry, then you lose
Yeah.
benefits. Like,
So
really?
it's
It's horrible.
it's not really a marriage. It's a blessing. We're getting a blessing. And one of our friends who happens to be an ordained minister, and she's also got cerebral palsy, is going to marry us.
Wow.
And her daughter, she's married. She's married to an able-bodied gentleman named Kevin, and they're wonderful. And they have a little girl, and their little girl Alethea is going to be our flower girl. So yeah, so it's going to be nice.
Yeah.
Now, are you aware of the SSI Restoration Act of 2021?
No.
Okay, it is a law that is in Congress right now that will eliminate the marriage penalty.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll increase what you can get paid before they penalize your SSI. Right now, you can get paid up to $85 before they take 50 cents for every $1 you earn. They're going to increase that to $400. They're gonna try to increase what we can have in our bank account at any given time. Right now, that number is $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the ABLE account there?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and I have it set up. I just haven't put anything in it yet because I just haven't yet.
So call your congressman, get them on board. That's got to get passed. There is another bill that was just popped up this week for Social Security, and I'm hoping they will piggyback the SSI Restoration Act onto that one.
Okay. And, and I did hear about it because we have Developmental Disability Day coming up, and we actually used to go every year to Annapolis, and then we would march to the Senate and go talk to all the legislators. And but when
reasons we're going to go ahead and do the blessing is because we're already together and depend on each other
100%.
Physically in all the ways. And my parents are in their 80s, so my parents can no longer physically take care of me,
right,
because of the age. So one of the reasons we're in a hurry to just do the blessing is because I want my parents to be here to see it. So I would love the Restoration Act to be approved, and if that ever happens, we'll have another little ceremony on our anniversary and go to the courthouse or have my priest and marry us that way. But yeah, the reason we're doing the ceremony at Oregon's Wonderland is I want to make sure my parents can see it, can be there for it.
Absolutely.
That would be so fun.
Absolutely. So can you guys tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up with cerebral palsy and what some of your challenges were back then?
I mean, for me, it wasn't that bad because I basically at 2 years old was diagnosed hemiplegic. When I was a teen, they went back and re-diagnosed me diplegic because of my hip issue. And technically, I should have had 3 other surgeries for my CP that I never had.
But it was just like you walked with a limp, was all right.
But now I've got issues with my hamstring and my hip dislocating. So if those surgeries would have happened, I wouldn't be having problems. And in Texas, the CP doctors are either in Houston or Dallas. They're not in San Antonio. We're finding that same thing for San Antonio doctors now. We're going to Austin for most of our appointments. It's really
the specialties and the proactive doctors are in Austin.
They're more proactive in Austin.
Finding.
And how long does it take you to get there?
About an hour and a half.
An hour, but with traffic, you can never really get there in an hour. People say an hour, but it's more like 2.5.
Yeah.
But we have a Medicaid program that pays us for mileage. So I was like, okay, let's just do it.
Whenever we go to, which is the blessing, whenever we go to doctor's appointments, they reimburse us for gas, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we take advantage of that for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and my struggle in San Antonio is to get my braces made. The guys here don't want to do my leather work. I have to have leather because I have a latex allergy and I can't wear plastic braces.
Okay.
And so everything I do is leather. It's heavier, it's older, but I don't care. It keeps me from having an autonomic dysreflexia attack.
Yeah.
I have autonomic dysreflexia because of a spinal cord injury.
Okay. So you said you were in 2 accidents, and then one
Yeah.
accident
Yeah.
you ended up with the spinal cord injury.
2
Yeah.
different spinal cord injuries. Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever looked into the Bioness unit?
I have. Yeah.
What's that?
It's a device to wear on your leg.
Oh,
We have it. It costs a lot of money, but it does roll wonders.
Yeah, she just got them.
Wow.
And you know, and I think it's sad because there was a lady that her husband had passed away. We're in a Bioness group, and but you can't even buy them secondhand, and it was brand new because you have to have a prescription, so they won't even service it. So, but like it has helped her so much. Like she's not dragging, she's picking up her legs, she's clearing it, and then she does 20 minutes
awesome.
a day with just in the training, and it's set up to for if she's riding a bike. So it's helped with a lot. And ever since she had a huge surgery, 9-hour surgery like 4 years ago. And with that, her circulation got worse in her feet too. Plus she ended up with edema. So this is,
Reese has the same issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, and you know, with me, I only had 1 surgery. So, you know, but it's been real hard.
Mhm.
I had my growing up, I had 5 surgeries.
Okay.
So I had more surgeries growing up. So I do remember being in the hospital a lot, and or like my major surgery was when I was 11 years old, and that's when they did like 13 surgeries at one time. That when I woke up, I had 13 incisions up and down my legs. But then they said I was orthopedically correct, whatever that means. What it means is that I was able to stay in the walker for as long as I did, because I was a full-time walker user up until 2013.
Okay.
So until my 30s.
Did Faith have SDR?
She did not. She did not. But they broke both of her femurs and
What's this
tibias.
TMI?
It's a different surgery, and there's a gentleman that actually does it. I'm in a few groups with it, but they did her both her femurs, tibias, and then they did some lengthening, and they did 2 different procedures on her feet, and she had literally like tent stakes in each of her feet.
I still have to wear braces.
Yeah, when you're not having the
Yeah.
Bioness, you wear the braces. Yeah.
Unfortunately, braces are a fact of life,
Necessary evil.
and you have to wear them for the rest of your life. Just like one of the things that's so frustrating to us is like when we were in school, we were given therapy, no questions asked, and physical therapy. We got physical therapy, no questions asked, part of your day at school, part of mainstream, everything. But once you age out of the system, all of a sudden you have to fight for every therapy session you get. And you're lucky to get 6 at a time. So that's probably, as an adult with cerebral palsy, that's probably one of the toughest things, is not getting the intensive therapy that I used to get when I was younger. And I wish we could fight that more.
I am a full-time rocker user, but once I'm on campus, it's like 6 miles long, so I have to use my wheelchair all day.
Yeah, so we don't use it all day. Her campus is huge. So if she goes clear across, then she uses her wheelchair. Otherwise, she uses her walker.
If I'm in a building.
She's in the house. She usually uses canes. She needs to get back on her canes because she does very well with them.
Yeah. Well, the best advice I can give you, Faith, is stay on your feet for as long as possible.
As long as you can.
Because once you start depending on scooters or wheelchairs more often, the harder it is going to be to get back on your feet.
Are you pushing a manual chair or using an electric chair?
At least that's been my experience.
Manual.
I have both.
Manual.
Yeah, we ended up getting an electric one, which is going to go to school, and they're going to kind of see how she does with it. She does fairly well, just because she has no depth perception either. But the thought there is we got the attachment on the back. So that way she can put her walker on it and then go clear across the gym. So that way they're not pushing the walker and the wheelchair at the same time. This way she's not stuck in her wheelchair. You know what I mean? So like to place it just for that, or if when she does go residential, she'll have that in the morning.
Because it is a high school, but my high school has dorms.
Yeah, so they have a residential program, which she wanted to get into, and she got into it. But with the pandemic, they're not fully at full capacity right now. So it's just, yeah. So how is it going? Huh?
What kind of walker does she use?
She has the a K walker.
We do too.
Yep.
Yeah, she's got the K. Well, she has a Nimbo right now, and then she has a K walker downstairs that has a
harness for the treadmill.
A harness for the treadmill.
And what's awesome is I could also do stem on the treadmill, and I could cycle with it too.
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but we're waiting on the new one to come in because she's grown.
Yeah, I actually have an H5 K walker I'm trying to get rid of, and I'm out of space. And I was actually, after my accident, they had me on the walker. I would try to push the walker, but because I'm so top heavy in pushing, I kept flipping the walker. Over. And I had several therapists who were like, "You can't do a posterior walker; it's too bulky." And I'm like, "Whatever." Met this girl; she had one. I hijacked her walker and started using it in therapy.
He uses my walker better than me now.
Oh, that's so funny.
No, we're looking at a walker that she can push
for me
with armrests.
We're finding for me, I'm having a hard because I've been sedentary and in the chair for so long. I'm having a hard time walking, standing straight the way I used to with the K walker. So we're looking into a walker that has arm things to hold my elbow, and I walk like this and hold on. That it gives me a little more stability, and it'll be in front. So
I use that for gym class, so trust me, it's great. But it's a little weird.
There's a company. I don't remember the name of the company.
It's more stable. It makes me feel like I'm not gonna fall.
Yeah,
we're not gonna flip anything. Yeah. So I don't. I think Faith understands what that.
Yeah.
You know, because I won't flip.
I'm trying to think of the name of that one that we have. We have a different one that's more like a gait trainer, if you will. And now it's going to drive me nuts on what that one's called. And that one's at school. That she
alligator.
Yeah, it's an alligator. Is it an alligator? I think it. Yes, it is. Yeah. Because we were always ones where we always wanted to have one at school and one. Yeah, it's huge. It is a lot. Like in our house, we keep it at school because it wouldn't fit in our house. In the hallways. Only the K walker does. The gator one doesn't. And we always like to have one at school and one at home because otherwise. Back and forth. So yes, we always tend to have extras.
The benefit
yes, that's good.
The benefit of having a nurse is that she can do your hair because I can't do my own hair. So she does my hair every morning.
Well, that's one of the things I learned in rehabs. I learned how to do ponytails.
He learned how to do ponytails for me, and he's learning how to do braids, which is good dexterity for his.
Because I'm technically quadriplegic because I flipped my chair and crushed my neck. She's quadriplegic because of CP. We actually have our Instagram channel is known as the Quirky Quads.
So
I saw that.
Yeah. But yeah, growing up, I missed most of my 5th grade because of surgeries and stuff. And when we moved around a few times, and probably my least accepted time of my life was when we were living in Massachusetts for 5 years. I went to schools that just weren't as accommodating, and they kept separating me from the regular kids, and it made it very hard to make friends. So for example, because the schools in Massachusetts are old anyway. And so when it would snow, which is often in Massachusetts, when it would snow, because it wasn't safe for me to get to the cafeteria, I'd have to go outside and around and down a big ramp and stuff. So when it snowed, I had to eat with the nurse instead of eat with friends.
Yeah, that's hard.
That was tough. And then also when we lived in Massachusetts, they would only allow me to go on field trips if my parents could go too, or my physical therapist could go too. They wouldn't include me and make arrangements only if my physical therapist could go, or only if my parents could go. So because they kept making those exceptions and those, they kept separating me during the 5 years that we lived in Massachusetts, I did not make many friends, and I really kept to myself and was not very social, to the point where my parents had me work with a counselor, and she would try to get me to sit at tables with friends and try to make friends sitting at the lunch table and whatnot. So that was when I was, 5th grade. The blessing was when we finally moved to Virginia, which I consider my hometown. It was like a whole new world because I wasn't separated from anything. And instead of having aides, special aides take me from class to class, they did the buddy system where a student my own age would volunteer to walk me to and from class and to carry my book bag for me. And so those buddies became my best friends, and those buddies opened doors for me. And suddenly I had a bunch of friends. And honestly, all you really need is a few best friends. You don't need a whole room full of friends.
Yep.
You just need a few good ones. And so all of those people became my best friends. So that opened a whole new world. And my parents were so happy, and I cried tears of joy when I was invited to do field trips, and there was no, and my mom was panicking because my mom was like, I can't get off of work that day. I can't get off of work.
Right.
And they're like, no need to panic, Miss Maguire. You don't have to come. We've got her. We're set, and I was included in the field trips. So living in Virginia and growing up in Virginia was a whole new world. I had wonderful friends, and I also and I went to college, and I graduated college, and I got to do the dorm experience, which I do recommend for Faith, because I could have stayed at home because I lived 5 minutes from home, but I wanted the dorm experience, and I'm so glad that I did. And I chose a friend of mine that I met in yoga class. See, I didn't live on campus all of the years, just 2 of my years in college. The first 2 years, I just kind of got my footing with college, and lived at home because we were 5 minutes away. But then the last 2 years is when I met one of my best friends in yoga class. She was my yoga partner. So then I was like, what would you think if we were roommates?
I went to community college for 4 years to get a degree in radio broadcasting. I was 1 semester short and changed my degree to computers and network engineering. And
he's my tech nerd.
They somehow got married together, and
radio, and
I worked for a Christian radio station from 2000 until 2008. In 2008, our owner was killed, and in 2010, I launched what is known as Heart Radio USA, or Heart Radio Ministries International. And we started with 1 station, and that over a span of 10 years grew to be 4 stations.
And it's internet radio.
Yeah, which is internet radio. And
so you'll have to send me the link, and that way I can put it in the show notes.
We're not online right now because we're transitioning and making changes.
Okay.
And the other side of it is our royalties went from being where I could pay them monthly to where I have to pay everything at the beginning of the year. And they went from being $500 a station or $600 a station to $1,000 a station last year.
So,
wow.
And so I'm just trying to find sponsors to pick that up, because I've also got a radio show I was producing before 2018 when I got sick and was in the hospital for 3 months. I was producing a radio show that highlighted the top 25 songs on the Billboard charts in praise and worship each week, because there's no praise and worship Billboard chart.
Yeah.
I was building and producing my own charts.
Awesome.
And I literally was getting ready to go into syndication with that and sign a contract, and ended up in the hospital with sepsis.
Oh my gosh.
from a UTI.
Yeah. It was back when he had a calf. Thank God he doesn't have
my friend, her son deals with that a lot and is always getting infections. And a lot of times you don't know until it's too late.
Yeah. It's scary.
I don't have a catheter, but I can't feel when I have to go.
Yeah.
Well, you do. You go. Sometimes you do, but you know when you have to go.
I have no feelings, so I have to be careful.
Yeah.
And with my injury, I can't feel between my knees. The weird thing is I can feel from my waist to the back top of my knees. From the middle of my knees to the back of my toes, I can't feel anything. Lower legs, I can't feel anything.
But then
I can feel my toes.
But his toes will burn if something's wrong.
If there's something wrong with my legs, my toes will burn, itch, be on fire, whatever. It's crazy.
So yeah, I'm just glad after so many infections, one doctor said, well, let's see if you can do with, let's see how you do with possible in and out calving or no calf at all, because they saw that he was getting so many of these infections, and then the last one went into septic, and that was scary.
Yeah.
We were like, we don't want to deal with this anymore.
And so I ended up in the hospital for 3 months, and at that point I wasn't walking, but I told the nurse I wanted to talk to a therapist, and I got with a therapist. I knew I was going to be there a long time. I said, I want to be in a standing frame every day working on standing. And by November, I was released out to rehab. She had just been admitted to rehab to start working on walking. We were admitted together. They had us in the same room.
And they let us share a room.
And they had us working together on skills.
Yeah.
That's
that's when we learned how to put on each other's braces. Was doing rehab together.
And it was kind of during this little bout of my journey with my health that I realized, okay, this girl's serious. She was coming to see me every day. In 3 months, I saw my parents 4 times. I saw her every day.
Even before I was admitted to rehab as well.
I was like, okay. And one of the things we did that was really cool in rehab is we made posters of different Christian music lyrics. I sent you a piece that I wrote from TobyMac's song, Get Back Up. And we had posters from that song on the wall.
What we did was we took favorite lyrics from different Christian music, and we used that to decorate our room.
And we literally...
And the nurses loved it.
Had 50 or 60 posters all over the wall, and our room had become a witnessing tool to the nurses, to the staff, to other patients. We'd have people come down and look at it, and they're like, dude, this is cool. And one band that we follow is named Carrollton, and they have a song called Made for This. And we had shirts made with our lyrics from Made for This on the back of it.
Because the
lyric is, you walk this wire, you take this step, you never look back, you never look down, you're made for this.
It was a way to motivate ourselves with that song, to motivate ourselves through rehab.
Yeah.
And sometimes the PTs would let us play the music to help motivate us as we were doing our therapy, because sometimes it hurts to be stretched. So sometimes I fondly refer to my physical therapist as a physical terrorist.
Physical terrorist, I love it.
Yeah. But it's so funny because one of my PTs says, yeah, but you can negotiate with a terrorist. You can't negotiate with me.
Like, you've been in the hospital so much or in therapy so much when the nurse walks in, hey, I remember you from
so. You have a reputation. Love.
Yeah, I've got a very bad reputation.
Yes, we always have I Heart Caleb radio on all the time.
When I had surgery,
Caleb's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so painful to get up on my leg at first. So they let me listen to music, and that was cool.
Yeah. Anything to motivate you to just keep on going, because therapy is not easy. Physical therapy is not easy.
No.
And my therapist try to get back into the walker is not easy. So
Nick, I know that you. No, sorry. Nick, I know that you were saying you did a ton of devotionals. So, and you had sent me 4 of them, and oh my gosh, they were amazing. And I'm definitely going to be sending them to our pastor. I was actually telling our pastor, his brother, about it this morning. I was like, oh my gosh, and we're interviewing this couple, this afternoon. I was telling them about you. They're amazing.
When I had my stroke back in 2017, I had a minor stroke. And I started writing those devotionals. I probably wrote about 150 of them.
And that was before he met me.
And you can find them on the Wheels of Change 2016 Facebook page. And
email that to me, because I want to be able to put that in the show notes. So when we're done, make sure you email that to me.
I've shied away from it, but I'm going to get back to it because we just finished our move. But I was posting daily verses and devotionals on Wheels of Change every day up until December 31st, and I had to stop because our move took priority.
I think he did that back then, though, just to keep himself going and to keep himself in the right mind and a positive mind.
Yeah, because I was trying to avoid the depression, because I knew after having the stroke, I had no function on my right hand, no function of my right foot. And my family was like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just fine. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, then how is it I can't get myself up the stairs at home, because we live in a 2-story house?
And this was before he met me.
Yeah.
And that's when his hands started, because his hands, he uses a special fork and knife because his hands lock up on him. Sometimes there's some days that they're loose, but like right now we're having cold weather in Texas. So his hands are extra tight. So his hands are like this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a floppy quad. I'm not a stiff quadriplegic. My fingers, I'll be typing just fine. And the next thing I know, my fingers are curled up. I can't type.
I have pretty good dexterity, except for when it comes to pills.
That's questionable.
Or tiny buttons. Trying to do tiny buttons are my nemesis too.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're marrying me for tiny buttons, long arms.
I'm marrying him for long arms because he can reach everything I can.
Mm-hmm.
I make most therapists cringe because I can slide myself out of my wheelchair to the floor and pull myself back into my chair without having help.
Well, that's actually something that your therapist taught you.
Yeah.
I've actually done
I kind of taught myself.
Isn't that like a coping thing? So, but we also have like emergency buttons for if any one of us falls.
Okay, that's good.
Emergency buttons to press,
Let me see who falls professionally and likes to see the hot fireman.
I'm very good. Let's just put it this way. I'm very good at when I realize I'm going to fall, of just relaxing my muscles
and sliding,
so I don't hurt myself.
So
I'm a professional slider. I'm very, my feet go out from under me because they don't want to behave and they just want to spaz. So I'm just a professional slider sometimes. And then he teases me about the firemen. They are kind of cute.
So tell us more about the cooking show. When are you planning to launch it? How often are you going to be doing episodes?
Weekly to every 2 weeks to do episodes. I've got a little bit of a learning curve because mostly I do audio, so I don't do video production.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to either find some type of software or learn something really simple
of how to do it. We're hoping his friend Dan can teach us some video tricks.
Yeah, I got a friend that can teach us video tricks. I've got a group, Traumatic Brain Injury Foundation of San Antonio. It has put forth the money to get us some of our utensils and things, and they're also going to put forth the money for us to get our cameras.
Wow.
And once that happens, we're going to start doing video. But right now, if you go out to the Facebook page, Cooking with the Quads, and that's spelled Quads, like if quadriplegic. Because we're both quadriplegic.
To you. So since we don't have a video, what we do have is we have still pictures of what we
And we put the
Okay.
ingredient sheets up there and whatnot, and usually put it out in the form of a PDF or a Word document so it can be seen.
And typically with the cooking, I'm like he's the main chef. I'm the sous chef. I'm the one that chops everything or gets everything ready. And he's the main cook. So
What are some of your favorite dishes to cook?
I love doing fried rice. I have 2 Instapots.
Yeah, our fried.
Okay. My oven is really
Instapots
neglected
over.
and very lonely. It suffers depression because my Instapots get used more than my oven does.
Well, and honestly, in my mind too, Instapots are safer for us than an oven.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, you have to get in an oven, you have to bend down and lean forward, and it's a hot surface, and you're not fully balanced because you're bent down and you're leaning forward. What's to keep you from, like, I don't know, literally falling into the oven?
The oven, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or just starting to fall and you grab something
on hot. Oh yeah.
When I was at therapy, they teach me how to fall on canes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they taught you how to fall on canes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They taught me how to fall when I was your age too, and they taught me how to fall and catch myself with my hands if I fall forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and my favorite things to cook are basically the fried rice. I'll do orange chicken or sesame chicken.
Mm-hmm.
We have a grocery store down here in Texas called HEB, and they'll sell pre-made kits for orange chicken or sesame chicken, and their directions tell you to put it in the oven for 25 minutes at 400. Well, I honestly can put it, or 425. I can honestly put it in an Instapot for 10 minutes at 400 and it's ready to go.
Instapot cooks it faster.
Because it's more intensified heat, it cooks it faster. And then I just pull it out and just sauce it up with the sauce packet. It's ready to go. And I mean, rice is a breeze because all you do is throw the rice in there with a cup of water on pressure cook for 10 minutes and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do is you put in your scrambled egg, your peas and carrots, a cup of peas and carrots already frozen. They're still frozen, and because the heat of the rice, it thaws them out.
We did ribs the other day.
We did ribs the other day.
In the Instapot with some orange juice.
We did. No, it was
apple juice. Yeah.
Yeah. We did a few months ago. We did Dr. Pepper ribs.
Mm-hmm.
I made a Dr. Pepper glaze, basically taking Dr. Pepper, mixing it with brown sugar, and putting it on the ribs.
Yeah, so we've done ribs.
You know, so I'm not a stranger to barbecue. I've smoked barbecue before, and that's one of my goals. If we could ever get our own place, is I'm buying myself a smoker. Because I can do it pretty good. And our thing is at Christmas we hammer cookies. We do like 4 dozen cookies.
Wow.
Like 3 or 4 types of cookies.
Now that's my favorite. My favorite is baking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a baker. He likes the cooking. I think the thing that stresses me out about cooking is the whole time management thing. When it comes to cooking something, whereas baking is more precise.
Yes.
You put a measurement in and that measurement in. You pop it in the oven for a certain amount of time and it comes out great.
You know, and what I've read and learned is, okay, there's all-purpose flour, but don't let people tell you there's only one type of flour, because there are like there's 5 types of flour, and it is different and it cooks different. And I now have 5 types of flour.
But we've done cookies in the Instapot.
We have done a 9-inch cookie with M&Ms in the Instapot.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna have to get me an Instapot.
Yeah. Now, when you look at
brownies in the Instapot too.
we did Dr. Pepper brownies in the Instapot.
Yeah, we did Dr. Pepper brownies in the Instapot. So yes, you can bake with an Instapot as well.
Yeah.
We love our Instapot.
So
And basically, we took a cookie, just a ball of cookie dough, from what's her name?
Oh, Natasha in the kitchen.
Natasha in the kitchen.
On
Took her
YouTube,
cookie dough
Natasha
recipe.
in the kitchen. We grabbed her cookie dough recipe.
And took that cookie dough recipe, added peanut M&Ms to it, put it in a pan in the Instapot, put it on 10 minutes, pull that pan out. You flip it over, so you turn your cookie over, so it cooks the other side for another 10 minutes, and it comes out phenomenal.
Yeah. So we did a giant cookie, but you could also do individual cookies too
Yes.
in the Instapot. But in this case, we just did one giant cookie to see if it would turn out, and it turned out well. And that's when we knew we could do the brownies. We're like, okay, if we can do the giant cookie, then we could do
the brownies.
Yeah, and then you take the therapy and bride therapist, and then they're asking, okay, how do I order myself one?
Anytime we go into rehab for some like heavy duty therapy, we bring our Instapot with us so that we can cook some too.
Do a cooking demonstration, and they're like, y'all are really ahead of the game. We're like, yeah, we may be a little more
When it
advanced.
comes to cooking, we're ahead of the game. When it comes to like doing our stretches or some of our standing or any of that, we may be behind. Although they have shown us how we can stretch each other.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're not necessarily good at keeping up with it because stretching is not fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
no, I'm actually my legs have gotten so tight over the pandemic. I'm probably gonna have to have my ankles casted because the physical therapist has told me he can't do anything else for me. And I had it done.
So we're just
normally they do it in children.
Yeah.
But I had it done when I was 36, and I was casted for 16 weeks, and I went from like a -5 to a +9.
Did they do Botox too and then cast you, or just cast you?
Yes, they did. And I will not. The Botox is it was horridly painful. But yeah, I'm gonna have to have Botox done when I get casted.
Yeah.
And I'm considering Botox for at least my quads. Because it's my quads that burn that keep me from standing more. And so maybe doing Botox, or I'm going to look into the baclofen pump. I'm scared of the baclofen pump because it's ongoing, it's surgery. And once it's done, I have to live with it forever, and maintain it forever. But if it gives me mobility again, maybe it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
So, because I do miss being in the walker full time.
Yeah.
And having that ability.
Yeah, the walker we're looking at for her, the new one is called a U-Step. And what's unique about it is when you push it, you have to hold the handles to push it. Otherwise, when you release the handles, it breaks.
Really?
Yeah, it's a reverse braking system.
Interesting.
I think I like that better because I think, because my hands will react to it better. I think I haven't fully tried it yet.
Yeah.
We just looked at it online.
But our difficulty with it is right now we're trying to get our power chairs approved. So we're waiting on the walker. And after we get them approved, we're debating whether we get it or not. Because I mean,
the walker.
Yeah, the walker.
Well, one thing I'm excited about with the electric chairs that we're trying to get approved is I've been told by my doctors that maybe I would build up my quads if I use a stander. And the thing is if we get these electric chairs approved, it's a stander as well. So
one. I know.
I've not been able to do much standing without my braces, and even with my braces, my standing right now is so painful. Getting the standing frame is imperative to keep me functional.
Yeah.
Well, let's just put it this way. most of his falls, if he falls, it happens when he's not wearing his braces.
Mhm.
Yes.
When he's wearing his
Being
braces,
stupid.
he's
Just pulling myself
more
up,
steady.
transferring from my chair to a bed or whatever.
Right.
And without
You
his
should
braces-
try and look into the bonuses, because if you have a spinal cord injury, Medicaid pays for that. Because when we tried, Medicaid wouldn't even look at it because of the fact that she didn't have a spinal cord injury.
That's
Which is
just
dumb.
insane.
Really?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
are
I hate how insurance
Yes.
companies think that they're doctors.
is Maryland an expanded Medicaid state?
I have no idea.
Texas is not, and that's our problem. Is Texas Medicaid is not expanded Medicaid. Most Democratic states are. That's why I say that. And expanded Medicaid states have so many more dollars than a non-expanded Medicaid state does.
Okay, yeah, and see, and she just got Medicaid through she actually got it through the family support waiver. And now she's
Right.
18, she would have gotten it anyway, but she was costing they called the MCO was priority partners. It was costing them too much money. So they went ahead and put an application in for REM, which is the rare and expensive management. And she got approved for that. So you would think even with that they would have, look at it. But yeah, we have a lady that we our coordinator, we meet with her once a month and kind of talk about, what her needs are and that kind of stuff. Yeah, she's really good.
Good. I'm glad you guys have a coordinator for all of that.
Yeah, we have so many coordinators. I literally have to they love me because if I don't have it written down, I will forget. So I have just this running list, and then I
have
go
16 doctors.
Yeah, and then I go back and
Welcome to our world.
after we meet, I update, what the update is. And then once a month, I send it to them and I have them all on the thread because she's got 4 or 5 different coordinators. They all need to know. So I'm like,
Yeah.
here you go. One's DDA, one's Medicaid, one is through the ARC. You know how it goes. But yeah, it gets overwhelming,
I actually have metal in my legs.
Yes, you have metal in your legs. Do you have metal? Did they leave your plates or anything in when you had your surgery?
No, they did for a year and then they took them out.
They left her tibias, but they took her femurs out.
So,
Gotcha.
and my mom kept them, which is odd, but yeah, she kept them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Every once in a while, I'll be looking through a bucket full of pictures and memories, and I'll come across them, and I'll be like, "You still have these, Mom?" I don't know.
That's so funny. Well, before we wrap up, I had emailed you guys to think about what word resonated with you, a meaningful word, because words are so powerful these days. And I like to gift all of my my guests with a word, and I hand stamp and ink them on tokens, and I put them into bracelets and anklets and keychains and necklaces. So I just wanted to know if you guys would be willing to share what that word is and why.
I think mine is pain, because even though we go through so much pain, it stands for perseverance, acceptance, inspiration, and never-ending faith.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wrote that as I was going through my second spinal cord injury, because I was sitting there and I was like, dude, I have just in the last year gotten myself to where I'm walking a little bit, and now I've had a second accident, and now I'm back down to where I'm not walking at all again. And it was like, really?
And he was handling all of this by himself because it's before he met me.
Before I met her,
So
and my parents
he was
really
using his Christian music and stuff like that in his writing to help him through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had written that and put that on the wall in my room, and even the psychologist looked at me and was like, dude, you don't need a psychologist. You understand how to handle this. You don't have issues with depression. And I'm like, no, I don't. I do things, and I have to keep a positive attitude. After my second accident, I was sitting in the hospital room recording my radio show every week still. microphone, laptop, and I record my show. And the therapists were like, "How are you doing that?" I'm like, pretty much doing voiceover and just recording voiceover text and typing and producing, writing my charts. You know, it was crazy.
But all that was keeping them going.
Yeah.
And mind you, I had just started producing and writing the show 2 weeks before my accident.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was in rehab from basically June 27th through September 9th. And by the time I got out of rehab, I had to fight for an extra 2 weeks. By the time I had gotten out of rehab, I was able to be on crutches and walking with my leg braces. But I had no feeling in my legs at all. When I had my accident, the way they hit my neck, I had no feeling in my arms or my hands for about 3 weeks. It was brutal.
I couldn't even imagine.
You know, and the night of the accident, when I went to the ER, the doctor was like, "You're just fine. You can go home." And I'm sitting there like, "Dude, really?" And he comes back an hour and a half later. He's like, "Why haven't you left? I told you could walk out of here." And I'm like, "Turn around and look behind you." And he looks behind me and he goes, "Oh, beep." He says something else. And he realized I'm in a wheelchair. And he's like, "You can't push your chair, can you?" And I'm like, "No, sir, I cannot." He's like, "What do you want me to do?" "I can still send you home and someone can push you out of here." I'm like, "No, sir. You're going to admit me to the hospital. You're going to admit me so I can get admitted to the rehab and transferred to rehab so I can heal." He's like, "Well, outpatient will be just fine."
Fight for your rights.
Yeah, exactly.
Medically.
And I'm looking at him like, "You're crazy, because outpatient will not do justice for what I need to have done."
Mm-hmm.
I think my word would be, my parents have always taught me about having a positive attitude no matter what life throws you. So I think my word would be attitude. And they've taught me to be empathetic, and the right people will be empathetic to you and you be empathetic to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are empathetic to you are the ones that become your friends, your community, you know. But mostly having a positive attitude, no matter, you know, smile. We have there's one kid that I tutored when I was in college. And he is low IQ, born with a low IQ, so he's got special needs, but he's a great kid, awesome runner. He can run like nobody's business, and he's the only smiling runner I've ever met. Is there anybody else in this world that smiles when they're running? But my buddy Joe, he's a smiler. So every once in a while, when I was tutoring him, I would watch him run and I'd be like, I want to live life running and smiling. So I guess attitude, just, even when you're doing something tough like running, smile and try to have a positive attitude and do whatever you need to do to get in that positive attitude, whether it's listen to music, or write something down, write poetry or paint a picture. My friend Heather that's going to marry us, she likes to paint. So she paints, So, find that outlet, whether it's art or anything that's going to make you have a positive attitude.
I actually have social anxiety and I see a psychologist, but I have a pretty good attitude. So,
You see a social worker.
You have a good attitude.
Yeah, sometimes I'm too social.
I honestly, Faith, I think when I was your age, I had a little bit of that too. The only thing that brought it out of me is, or made things better, was finding good people. So just keep finding good people.
Yeah.
Finding good people that cook.
I'm actually gonna go on my first plane ride. So I'm a little nervous. Do you have any advice for that?
Exciting. First plane ride. Okay. I would definitely listen to music or read something that you like. Do something that you like to distract you. Distractions are good when you're nervous or scared.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're looking this summer maybe to take Amtrak out to California.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because I don't mind flying only because I lived life in a car because my parents and I would drive everywhere because my mom hated flying.
Mm-hmm.
So now I look at flying as a luxury because you get there so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't fly because taking my chair, I don't trust the airlines. And with Amtrak, you roll right on. You don't have any problems with your chair. You're good to go.
See, and I like flying because you get there faster. But yeah, just do whatever you need to, Faith, to distract yourself.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with something that you like, whether it's, growing up, my distraction was New Kids on the Block. I was a big New Kids on the Block fan. So like, even when I was in my surgery, I had my Joe McIntyre doll with me taking into my surgery when I was 10 years old. Okay.
Actually, I think that's a show still.
What? New Kids on the Block? They don't have a show.
They have I forget what channel it's on. They have a reality show about their cruise.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And it's what is it? Get off the boat or get on the boat is what it's called or something.
That's
so and Donnie Wahlberg has a couple reality shows with his wife Jenny McCarthy. So that might be the two that she's referring to.
Yeah. More than I do, girl.
So just find whatever distracts you on the plane. Because that's what I would do.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out and talking to us and being on the show. We look forward to watching your cooking show. And I'll put all your information in the show notes so people know how to find you. And with that, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show to the masses. If you would like to support the Guilbault Girls on another level, click on the link in the show notes to make a donation in any amount. Add your address and you'll receive a hand-stamped token with the word village on it in appreciation. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls. Till next time.
And I told her that the dorm room that my college had was awesome because it was an enjoyable